Chairwoman Hampton.
Present.
Ms. Blair.
Present.
Mr. Hall.
Present.
Mr. Reeves.
Morning, I'm here.
Ms. Bagley.
Here.
And Mr. McGregor.
I'm here.
And I noticed that Ms. Popkin is now part of
Yes, correct. Is she with us?
Okay, Ms. Popkin? Not here. Okay. Got one.
Mr. Barry.
Oh, Mr. Barron.
Mr. Barry. Thank you.
Thank you.
Getting copy. And I was going to welcome Commissioner Popkin. We'll follow up with her. And we do have a new member, and we're excited to have her on board. I'd also like to acknowledge that we have Commissioner Kingston with us this morning. And do we have any other commissioners online?
See Mr. Shadid.
Chair Shadid is joining us as well for the record. Thank you all for being here. And we have 2 agenda items for today. Ms. Levy, would you like to start us?
Good morning. Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, this morning we have item DCA 212005, consideration of amending the definitions of bedroom, kitchen, and bathroom in the Dallas Development Code.
Thank you. And is there an update from our last briefing?
Yes, there is. You have it in your packet in front of you. I believe that's right after background information, and I do have it in the presentation. I was just going to go very briefly over the first few slides and everything, and then go into the updates. But if you prefer, I can just go straight to the updates.
I think the update, if that's acceptable to the members, we're seeing yes, so that'd be great. Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Just the
did you say
updates,
that?
please.
The updates. Okay, let me advance to that. It's frozen.
You don't have.
Okay, sorry. My screen was frozen. I'm sorry. Okay, so the updates at the last meeting of ZOAC meeting of May 19th, ZOAC asked staff to consider and explore the implications with respect to zoning, building code, and real estate of adding closet to the proposed definition of bedroom. So for the proposed, I have the proposed definition on the left-hand side. I'll read that. The proposed definition of bedroom right now means any room or area in a dwelling unit used for sleeping other than kitchens, dining rooms, living rooms, bathrooms, closets, game rooms, sunrooms, and other similar rooms. So for zoning implications, there really isn't any implication for adding closet to the definition of bedroom at this time. For building code, however, if we add closet to the proposed definition, it could complicate somewhat how closet is interpreted. As we know, the industry changes, how we use our homes and our spaces changes a little. But one example also would be studio units and dorm rooms that only have shelves and rods for hanging clothes and no formal closet. And yet those rooms are still used for sleeping, and of course they're still considered bedrooms. So, that's just something to consider. For the real estate industry, again, we don't really address that in zoning, of course, directly. However, there really aren't any impacts on this particular item for the adding closet to the definition bedroom. Because we're really only applying this definition to the building code and our zoning and other regulations.
And do we want to pause there? Were any questions from members on bedroom? Mr. Reeves?
Yeah, it says the IRC does control size, access, light, ventilation for bedrooms. What is the size?
The size of the bedrooms,
Is there a minimum size?
there is a square footage, and I apologize, I don't have that in front of me. I don't know, is there someone there from building inspection this morning? I know there is a size.
70 or 80 square feet. Can't remember.
We don't have the exact number since that's not part of zoning per se, but I guess, and Mr. Reeves, is your question how that might potentially impact densities as they might be captured in code, in zoning code?
Yes, you're a little bit of ahead of me there, even my thinking. So potentially, yes.
So is there any consideration that this body would need to have in considering the zoning in terms of that square footage definition?
I don't think so. It's a minimum square footage in building code to say this is a bedroom, or is not a bedroom. Like someone can sleep here when it's a minimum square footage, and then they would apply the proper egress and building code requirements.
And so we wouldn't anticipate, and I'm thinking of, we have studios, which I think we're all familiar with, micro units are becoming more common. Is there any implications there that we need to be mindful of?
I don't think so. I mean, I would expect a bedroom to be in a micro unit.
Well, I think it's usually essentially even the smaller version of the studio because everything is contained within a single sleeping room, if you will.
Yeah. And I think the proposed definition says means any room or area is a new addition. It used to just say room.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, any other questions?
I think it's Amanda.
Ms. Hopkins.
Is on that.
Commissioner Popkin, thank you for joining us. We just wanted to acknowledge that you're with us for the record. And if you have any questions, we can't see you on the screen, so please feel free to speak up.
Sounds great. Good
Thank
morning,
you.
everyone.
So, Madam Chair, a kind of a follow-up.
Yes, Mr. Reeves.
So at 80 square feet minimum, if I had a 1,500 square foot house and I just took 1,500 and divided by 80, that's 19 bedrooms. Obviously, we're not going to have 19 bedrooms. There would need to be a kitchen and a bathroom. But where I'm going, if I had a 100 square foot kitchen and a 100 square foot bathroom, could I then have 15 bedrooms potentially? Thinking of short-term rentals. Or frat housing or short-term rentals in single-family neighborhoods.
No. So
Ms.
the
May?
key, yes, I'm sorry. So the key words in the proposed definition means any room or area in a dwelling unit used for sleeping, other than kitchen, dining rooms, living rooms, bathrooms, closets, game rooms, sunrooms, and other similar rooms. So it's not saying everything in a dwelling unit is a bedroom. It's just saying if it's used for sleeping, then it's a bedroom. And it does not include, where your guests might sleep on the couch, when they come sleep over, It's rooms that are bedrooms, that are going to have to meet all the egress requirements and everything to be a bedroom.
Okay, so again, 1,500 square foot house, and I designate 300 square feet to a kitchen and a bathroom. So I have a kitchen and a bathroom, and then I got the house. I could put in 15 bedrooms potentially.
If you have the proper egress and things like that, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Can I follow up?
Thank you.
Mr. Reeves, I'm gonna follow up on what you're saying because I think you hit a nail on the head when I asked that if we define it by putting a closet in it, it better defines it as a room dedicated for sleeping. You can have a media room and you can have the appropriate egress, but it's not a bedroom.
I've seen closets in media rooms, right? A closet could have a media room could have a closet, where you keep your equipment, your workout equipment,
So, and I think if I'm following, what Mr. Reeves is trying to net out with short-term rentals and the like that we see going on in other areas, that there is a need, and if I'm wrong, Mr. Reeves, please correct me, but there's a need to better qualify a bedroom from any other room so that you can determine how many people, because it has, defining a bedroom has more implications of just defining a house. It has implications in parking, it has implications in short-term rentals, it has a whole lot of other implications. And the better definition we give to a bedroom, the better we can define the needs for parking. We can define the needs for short-term rentals or anything else that could be abusive.
Yeah, you might be reading a little bit more in my question. I was just kind of saying, is there a maximum? Like, is there a certain, is there any rule that governs that? If you're reducing parking and we're talking about bedrooms, the tendency is going to be to go the other direction. It's going to be to put a little stove or a toaster oven and a hot plate and call it a kitchen so that you don't have to park it. So I'm kind of just saying, just like the next case that we're hearing, the building height. And I'm sorry to be paranoid, but everybody tries to punk these things. And that's why we have so many regulations, and that's why it takes so long to get through City Hall with a permit, is because of the bad actors that try to stretch things, that try to build up the dirt skirt and build from there and call that up, or whatever have you. So I'm just trying to get my head around what are the possibilities. Right now it's an information stage.
So for purposes of zoning, and Ms. Levy, this may be a question for you, or Ms. may want to chime in. For purposes of zoning, we know that it impacts parking. What other zoning implications are there for the definition of bedroom?
Well, I was going into the second slide, and actually, it does impact lot size, because the dwelling unit density is directly related to the allowable number of dwelling units per acre for multifamily districts. And so the dwelling unit, the minimum lot area per dwelling unit is tied to the number of bedrooms. And I have the example here on the slide, using the MF3A district. You have, under your area regulations, you have dwelling unit density, you have a maximum dwelling unit density of 90 units per net acre. And then for the lot size, as you see on the slide, your
We don't
lot
see
size.
it. Oh, you do? Oh, I can't read it.
It's small, but we see it.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, I'm sorry, it's big on mine.
No, you're good. Thank you.
Sorry. Yeah, so under lot size, it varies, your square footage varies based on the number of bedrooms. So if you don't have a separate bedroom, meaning more like I guess an efficiency or studio, it requires a minimum lot area per dwelling unit of 450 square feet. Then if you go to one bedroom, it goes up to 500 square feet. And 2 bedrooms, it goes to 550. And then when you have more than 2 bedrooms, you add 50 square feet additionally to that. So, those are the implications. It's basically, under lot size, you do have your density tied in for multifamily. So, but I did want to just go back for a minute, and I believe, and I don't know that number, but I believe there is a maximum number of bedrooms, and I don't know if someone from the building side can answer that. I don't know if it's 8. There is a number, I believe, whereby it triggers the different building code.
And that was that was honestly the root of my question. Is there a number?
Yeah, I think there is. The problem is I don't know that number.
Yeah.
And
Ms. May, are you aware of that, or is that something that we can confirm?
Yes, and thank you, Lori, for bringing that up, because I did see an email from Bryant Thompson, who was with us last time. And I think he did answer this question to Lori in an email. He has a death in the family, so he couldn't make it. But I think he said that once a single family structure has more than 8 bedrooms, then they take it up to like the next level, and they gotta like put fire sprinklers in it, and you know, it becomes a lot more expensive to build. Like, it's not,
Well,
you cannot build it, it's just you have to put a lot more like fire protection measures for.
There's additional life safety considerations.
That's right.
Once you exceed it.
yeah, it also, instead of being considered a residential structure under the International Residential Building Code, it then defaults to what is considered a commercial structure. And then it's subject to all the implications of a commercial structure under the IBC, the International Building Code for commercial structures.
And
Yeah,
then
it's
either
long.
Ms. Levy or Ms. May, could you also speak to, is the dwelling unit definition also a component of how that's considered? Because it is defined as a single family unit. And does that also have implications for how we should be considering this?
Well, yeah, I have the current definition here. So, yes, it means, right, currently it means one or more rooms designed to be a single housekeeping unit to accommodate one family and containing one or more kitchens, one or more bedrooms, and one or more bedrooms. So, yeah, you have to have the whole package again in order for it to be considered a dwelling unit. So, you know, but again, certainly that's residential. So that's what we're talking about here is residential. If it was, you know, another type of facility, a hotel or, you know, what have you, that's obviously that's going to be different, you know, because it's meant to house, you know, a lot more, it's supposed to have a lot more rooms because it has a different function. And the functionality does play a role in this. I did attach in your packet, it was the last attachment under the accessory structures and single family accessory structures. And if you'll notice, and Bryant was kind enough to send this to me back in 2005, this ordinance was put into place. It says specifically the regulations, to ensure that the regulations apply to single family uses within planned development districts and to prevent them from applying to multifamily and non-residential uses. So there is that divide. And, you know, function, if you look at let me see what page this is. Page 62, definition of accessory structure means a structure located on the same lot as the main building that is subordinate in floor area, location, and purpose to the main building and used for a permitted accessory use. So purpose does play a role. Purpose and function is looked at in plan review. That is something that, you know, helps them also determine.
Ms. Levy, could you repeat that just the last couple of minutes? We lost the signal, so those of us in the briefing room didn't hear that. It appears that you were still online, perhaps.
For accessory.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I don't.
Just the comments on accessory structures.
Oh, okay, yes. Yeah, the definition in there is that an accessory structure means a structure located on the same lot as the main building that is subordinate in floor area, location, and purpose to the main building and used for a permitted accessory use. And my point to this too is that function is a big part of this in plan review. You know, that's why they have the rooms labeled on the plans, you know, and they have to see what they are. And, you know, if something's out of line, you know, and it just doesn't make sense, you know, it's, you know, there is some functionality and common practical application and determination in reviewing the plans as well. Of course, our definitions greatly help us to tie that, you know, to tighten that up.
So this
I
is,
don't-
and I'm sorry, and I apologize, I just want to make sure that I'm clear. The memorandum that you have included was an update to the code definitions originally, is that correct? That included this?
Yes, and yeah, you'll see the definitions of bedroom and kitchen at that time, but yeah, and that was, you know, intended again to tighten that up a little bit more with the accessory structure issue.
Understood. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Reeves, did that bring some context to your question, or are there any follow-ups or any questions from other?
Yeah. Yeah, I went way about, I could have asked the question a lot more directly, so thank you for.
And there is some, Mike King has posted on the chat some answers to the original question about, Mr. Reeves' question about habitable room size, what the minimum dimensions or what the minimum size is, 70 square feet, which excludes kitchens, but any habitable room shall have a floor area of no less than 70 square feet.
So,
But that's not necessarily that bedroom, it's any habitable room.
Right.
So it could be a living room, it could be, well, it could be a kitchen in that case.
Well,
Kitchen has a
except,
function.
the exception is kitchen.
Oh, sorry, thank you.
and sanitary room.
I'm not sure that's considered habitable.
No, it's not. So a habitable room has to have a minimum square foot of 70 square feet. 7 by 10, yeah.
And
That's round.
the next line down says the minimum dimensions for any habitable room shall be no less than 7 feet in any direction. So, yeah.
7 by 10.
So,
It must be something she does.
does that bring some clarity? And I know we kind of paused for a moment in the middle of your bedroom updates. Ms. Levy, you want to continue on your presentation?
Oh, certainly. I'm thinking we covered lot size now already. Just now. Yes, and so we're still on bedroom, but you know, you did ask about the implications on parking as well as stormwater runoff. So again, you know, obviously bedroom greatly impacts the parking regulations out of Chapter 51A because, as we know, the number of rooms, the number of bedrooms ties directly into the ratio, the parking ratio for both multifamily and then the college, dormitory, fraternity, or sorority houses. And, you know, what we have in the code right now is the parking ratio for multifamily and the college dorms and fraternity and sorority house at 1 parking space per bedroom. So obviously, if we go with the proposed definitions now and we just tie in and count actual bedrooms as bedrooms, the ones that are used for sleeping, then that's going to help our parking count, and we'll avoid having the unnecessarily inflated parking count for those multifamily uses. So, and again, you know, we're trying not to overpark. I think, you know, we all recognize the implications of overparking and what that has done. So, you know, this will help to resolve that as far as the zoning. Same thing for building code, they go hand in hand, of course, because if building inspections no longer has to count the other rooms as bedrooms that really are not bedrooms, then, we'll be able to cut down on those unnecessary over parking for rooms such as home offices and spare rooms, bonus type rooms. So again, we know that less surface parking spaces citywide, that would greatly help. And, with the over parking that we have, and, have more usable and walkable areas, that's something that we're trying to achieve certainly right now. And then also, we would reduce the staff time, not only of trying to struggle with, the back and forth of, okay, it's not really a bedroom, but I have to count it as a bedroom because of the definition now maybe. And now you have to find parking spaces for this development. But a lot of our applicants, of course, as we know, will go before the Board of Adjustment to receive a parking variance. So we certainly don't want to overinflate or cause this issue through our code. Our definition is actually exacerbating some of the overparking and surplus parking. So this will help to reduce staff time and Board of Adjustment time for potentially unnecessary parking variances. On the real estate industry, again, although we can't directly look at that as part of our zoning, we do know that, of course, parking is expensive. And so if these developers are being required to park rooms that aren't actual bedrooms, then certainly there's a cost to that. That's definitely going to increase the cost of development. And, quite frankly, it will undermine our affordable housing goals that we have. Because they will pass that cost on, as we know. So that pretty much covers the parking. I don't know if you have any questions on that. If not, I'll go to stormwater for the bedroom, and then we'll go on to the next definitions.
Questions?
I just had a question about the short-term rentals. Because they were talking about bedrooms in conjunction with short-term rentals.
So I think that may be coming back to a separate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Would that be a related time for that?
Okay, because you brought it up several times, so that's why I was gonna ask the question. Okay, we'll come back to it.
Thank you. Ms. Levy, I think we're ready for stormwater. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so yeah, for stormwater, again, if we change the definition and we tighten that up to be able to count just bedrooms, which is, as we know, is based on the number of parking, we'll have less of the surplus overparking due to our code. That's not to say that there won't be overparking, but it certainly won't be due to our code. Again, the whole overparking scenario, as we know, undermines the goals of CCAP, which is to reduce the stormwater runoff and also to reduce the heat island impact. And, as we're told, of course, surface parking spaces contribute to about 80% of our stormwater runoff currently, and obviously it greatly contributes to the heat island effect. So, and then also, again, I brought up about our goals for affordable housing. That is directly stated in our multifamily districts under the MF1 SAH and MF2 SAH. So, again, if we're able to tighten this definition up, we'll certainly help in that respect as well. So it's all tied together, as we know. But under the building code, again, staff would no longer have to park these rooms that are not bedrooms, and that will greatly help to reduce the stormwater runoff and the heat island effect. And implications for real estate. Again, I don't want to keep saying this. I guess we all know it, so I don't have to keep saying it. But doesn't go into our zoning implications directly. However, we do know there is a cost of parking, but not only a cost to the parking spaces, but there's a cost to having more stormwater runoff due to the parking that's being put in, which means that developers may actually have to put in some stormwater facilities, detention, retention, what have you, in order to address and mitigate that additional stormwater that they may be creating. And that certainly has a cost. So, with that really concludes the three different buckets for options for the lot size, the parking, and the stormwater runoff. If you don't have any questions, I'll go ahead and move on to kitchen. Yes.
And Mr. Reeves?
I mean, or I can wait. I just have a question about the math here. It says surface parking accounts for approximately 80% of stormwater runoff. So if I have a single-family house or single-family property, I can build on 60% lot coverage or 40% lot coverage or something like that. So the majority of that's going to be a house. And are you saying that the physical structure does not attribute to stormwater runoff and it's just my driveway? Because if I look at my driveway and even a detached garage, that's the smaller percentage of what's actually on that lot. So how is stormwater 80% of because of parking? I don't understand. I see that downtown maybe, but how does that perk?
Yeah, I mean, that's something from CCAP that we know, and that's just the point. I'm not saying that, that single family property is causing 80%, but I'm saying that we know that parking does contribute to that. And we're talking about multifamily here, so we're talking about much larger properties. And the surface, the reason why there's more stormwater runoff with the surface parking is because it just sheet flows, as we know, right off of all of that concrete. I mean, it doesn't really get absorbed. It doesn't really, it can't go into the ground if it's not a permeable, because it's not.
But I also have a roof, and it doesn't allow the stormwater to come through my dwelling to go to the ground either. So that roof, I just think that seems like an awfully artificially inflated number. I'm not arguing against the runoff and reducing parking to help that. 80% seems way out of whack. Just looking at this.
So, Ms. Lee, was that perhaps
Not
specific
sure.
to commercial parking lots? Or larger parking structures versus smaller lots and units?
It could be. I mean, we're really talking about parking in general. And again, I'm not saying that it's 80% of our situation, but I was talking in general terms. That is a percentage that is stated in CCAP. Now, certainly, yes, you do have rain that runs off of a roof, but a lot of times most of the time you do have some grass and, something that water is also, coming down from, certainly. But, again, I'm not claiming that it's 80% of this particular situation. I was just,
And I realize those are your numbers. I just wanted to point out that they seem, you can prove anything with statistics. So it just seems way out of whack. I agree with the concept, though. Thank you.
That's an excellent point, and thank you.
Well, hopefully as we return to considering parking, there'll be discussions about how we consider design standards and how they do contribute to some of our other CCAP goals. So any other questions before we move to the next definition item? I'm going to pause and ask one. I'm going to return to parking. I was doing a quick research here to refresh my memory. When we're talking about the percentage of parking as tied to bedrooms, it is primarily multifamily, retirement housing, and other uses that define parking by bedroom, because many of the others define them by dwelling unit. Single family, for instance, I think retirement housing was by dwelling unit. And so I just wanted to make that clarification that it's not all of our residential codes as we're talking about these. Is that correct? Okay, I'm getting nods, Ms. Levy, is that correct? Did I get
Yes.
some? Okay, thank you.
That is correct, thank you.
Okay. Oh, and Ms. May has one additional clarification for us.
And I just wanted to reiterate, the purpose of us requesting this definition is to clarify and to make things more kind of common sense for people that are proposing construction on our city, as we're regulating things. It's the developers that want to build new multifamily buildings, but they want to add a home office in their multifamily, uses, and, it could have a half wall or something that kind of divides it from the living room and the dining room and the kitchen and the bedroom. But because home office isn't one of the exclusions in our current definition, we're like, oh, sorry, that's a bedroom, you gotta park it. It's obviously not intended to be a bedroom, it doesn't have the life safety, measures to be a bedroom because it's in the center of, or it's right by the door or whatever. It doesn't have a window, whatever the case may be. The purpose of these changes is to make it more consistent with how dwelling units are designed.
And before we leave bedroom, I've pulled it up if you have it, or I think you've actually got it in the corner there. Can you read essentially the proposed bedroom definition and what's going to be changed from the current definition? I know you have that in your earlier presentation.
Yes,
Just as
so.
we're trying to close this one out to make sure that we're all clear on what we're being requested to consider today.
Right, okay. I have it in,
I've got it on page 3 of your original presentation, if you've got that behind
yes,
us.
right, and I have it much further in the presentation as well. So right now, the current definition is bedroom means any room in a dwelling unit other than a kitchen, dining room, living room, bathroom, or closets, additional dining rooms and living rooms and all dens, game rooms, sunrooms, and other similar rooms. The proposed definition, which you see on the screen, is bedroom means any room or area in a dwelling unit used for sleeping other than kitchens, dining rooms, living rooms, bathrooms, closets, game rooms, sunrooms, and other similar rooms.
And so it's striking essentially it's striking the word additional primarily because it's pulling up some of the other dining room, living room, and bedrooms.
So
Yes,
there's a
I
typo.
I have it on the screen, so and of course it's in the report, but and the strikeouts, of course, are just stricken out, and then the additional words that we are adding is in red. So bedroom means any room or area. So we're adding or area.
Yeah.
We're adding used for sleeping. We're adding plural to kitchen, dining room, living room, bathroom, and closet. And yes, we're removing additional dining rooms and living rooms and all dens so that we just have, a smooth flow of the same rooms. So that it reads, bedroom means any room or area in a dwelling unit used for sleeping other than kitchens, dining rooms, living rooms, bathrooms, closets, and then we just continue, game rooms, sunrooms, and other similar rooms.
I have a question, Madam
Excuse
Chair.
me. Hey, so one moment, Mr. McGregor, we've got one clarification from Ms. May, and then we'll come to you.
Right, I think there's a typo on number 9 on the screen, because we're also striking are considered bedrooms at the end of that definition. So the current definition from additional, it says additional dining rooms, living rooms, and all dens, game rooms, sunrooms, and other similar rooms are considered bedrooms. That's the problem, is that we're calling all of these things bedrooms right now.
Oh. Living rooms, dens, game.
Additional, additional dining, additional living rooms, all dens, all game rooms, all sunrooms, and all other similar
Are considered
bedrooms.
So if you have two beings, the other
So
one's.
at the end of 9, there's supposed to be another portion of the
Another
thing that's
strike.
stricken out.
There should be another strikeout.
Right,
So-
so right now, we've got really loose.
So what's shown is correct, it's simply missing a
Yeah.
strikeout.
Right,
Just
Oh,
for clarity for those looking at this online, there is an additional strikeout at the end of this sentence that will say, are considered bedrooms.
right.
And if
Oh,
you're at
yes.
page 3 of our original report, it's, I think, more correctly shown.
I'm sorry, yes,
So, Mr. McGregor,
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Levy, at the last time that we talked about this, we brought up the concern that the term used for sleeping might change because somebody that owns the house right now might use the garage for sleeping, but the next person might use it as a garage. I wonder if, to be more specific or more concrete in that term, would it make sense, instead of saying used for sleeping, maybe to say designed for sleeping or intended for sleeping? I'm asking a question. The word used just leaves itself open to a point in time and a specific tenant, as opposed to being more of a permanent way to identify a house or a bedroom.
and so, Ms. May, I think you were alluding to this to follow up on Commissioner, or Mr. McGregor, sorry. Going to be hard to break that habit. Since there are specific code requirements, building code requirements to be considered a bedroom, you mentioned it needs a window, you have to have access to light and air, there's minimum square footage. Is design the correct way to define that?
I think that would be beneficial. That would be a good change.
So design versus used, and that would ensure that it met all building code requirements to qualify as a bedroom. And then if there was some functional change over time. But that clarifies for your purposes, if it's the home office. It may still have a window, it may still have some, or it may or may not have a window, I guess would be the question, but would that somehow trigger any other consideration?
I think if we replace used with design, it would provide more clarity.
Okay.
I think that'd be fine. Good.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you for the suggestion, Mr. McGregor. All right, if there's no further questions, kitchen?
okay.
Ms. Levy?
Yes, the only question I do have about design for sleeping, so if it wasn't originally designed, but then now someone makes it a bedroom because, because they want to change their house, but they don't have to do anything structurally, is that, I'm just asking the question, does that?
Yeah, the thought that comes to my mind, Ms. Levy, on that is that the city has no way of knowing if somebody decided to use their office as a bedroom or something else. So even though we could put it in there, it's not enforceable. And
Yeah.
it seems to me like it will create less confusion to have a more concrete definition of bedroom. Either way, there's some people will get around the definition and use it differently, but that's all we can do.
Okay.
Just a thought.
Right, no, that's perfect, thank you. Okay, I just want to make sure we're covered.
No, agreed, and that's why I'm glad we have Ms. May with us as well, since she'll be helping interpret these. I need the strongest language we have, so.
Okay, so, kitchen. The proposed definition for kitchen means any room or area used for cooking or preparing food and containing one or more ovens or stoves, one or more refrigerators, and one or more sinks. This definition does not include outdoor cooking facilities, and again, that's the proposed definition. So for lot size, for kitchen in the zoning, it's not any implications really on the zoning side only, but, so, and again, here, what we're really doing is removing the microwave or hot plate from the definition and just making it the three-part condition. So, under building code, removing the microwaves and hot plates basically means building inspection staff don't have to require those to be shown on a set of plans because, typically a microwave and a hot plate is not going to be shown on construction plans. It's more of contents in a house, really, versus built-in appliances for the most part. Stove and ovens will typically be shown on the plans, however, because those appliances do need special electrical outlets, 220 volts, or gas connections in order for them to work. So the three-part definition of the presence of ovens or stoves, you can have, either one, and a sink and a refrigerator has no implications on lot size, really. Again, it's just to tighten up this definition and have it make a little more sense. However, though, they are struggling a little bit over in the building inspection side, of course, now with having to count or, spend more time counting under the current definition wet bars and laundry rooms because people today, as we know, use their spaces differently. We want everything convenient. We want everything on demand. So, we'll have microwaves maybe and refrigerators in the laundry room. People have very large laundry rooms now, and so anyway, it's just to come maybe up to more of our current standards and how we use our spaces. Again, on the real estate industry side, there's no implications because this is strictly how we are interpreting and applying our definitions with respect to building codes and all of our other regulations.
Question, Madam Chair.
Mr. McGregor?
Thank you. Ms. Lee, this sounds good to me. I'm also wondering whether, as I'm sitting here thinking about a kitchen, most homes have one central kitchen, right? And there may be another one in the guest house and so on. As an additional layer of making this, really obvious, would it make sense to add language in here that says something like, and I'm just brainstorming here on the go, but kitchen means any room or area used as the primary cooking or central cooking space in the home containing blah, 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 blah. And that would very easily discount any wet bar, fancy as it may be, or cafeteria in the laundry room. Putting that out there for
me.
you to
Madam,
respond to.
I kind of have a follow-up to Mr. McGregor's question.
Mr. Reed?
Yeah, thank you. So would if I were to put a microwave and a hot plate on my plans, would that classify the room as a kitchen? So in Mr. McGregor's example, you've got a primary kitchen that has, the 240 volt and, actually on the electrical panel and all that sort of stuff. But I have another room, and on my plans, I put a microwave and a hot plate on my plans. Would that second room now classify also as a kitchen?
Not under the.
Go, Ms. Levy. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to say not under the proposed definition, really, the one with the microwave and hot plate, because we're taking it out.
Yeah, but wouldn't we have to say that a true kitchen would need it needs to be on the electrical plans, it needs to have a separate breaker? Just to kind of define what that kitchen actually is, rather than someone saying, oh, that's not a bedroom that I have to park. Look, I've got a microwave and a hot plate on my plan, so therefore it's a kitchen.
Ms. May is reviewing the definition. Stand by.
Thank you.
Everybody.
No, she thinks it's clear. So, but to answer Mr. Reeves' question, it requires all three. So simply having the microwave would not, if it was a break room, it has to have a stove. So even if we included the microwave, or the microwave was, the smaller units are what is causing the confusion. And so it's trying to bring clarity to
Yes.
larger cooking implements by excluding the smaller items. Is that correct?
Because I could have a toaster oven.
Right. And so that would not qualify as a kitchen.
I would think it would not, but does this language specifically say it does not?
I think by exclusion it does. Therefore, as written, and again, Ms. Mayor, Ms. Levy, correct me, but as written, you're required to have a oven or stove. And so you could have a microwave, but if you don't have an oven or a stove, and then oven would not include a toaster oven because that's a smaller appliance.
Right.
Correct.
Right. So
Okay.
define small. I guess that's.
Well, I agree, but, Mr. Hall.
There's no ordinance against having more than one kitchen, though, is there?
Correct.
Okay.
And the question was, there's no ordinance that limits you to one kitchen. And so back to Mr. McGregor's original question, does the addition of the word primary bring further clarity to this? Or is it something that would be needed? Because again, you're not precluded from having more than one, and you might have a, whether it's a wet bar in addition to your kitchen, and then a small area in your media room, and you could have multiple, depending on what the layout was. And I guess from a smaller, and again, going back, if you've got a micro unit, the micro unit would still have an oven or a stove, a refrigerator, and a sink to qualify as a kitchen to then be considered as a dwelling unit.
Correct.
Okay. Is that clear for everyone?
So did Ms. May clarify that a microwave and a stove and a hot plate, a toaster oven, a microwave, and a hot plate would not classify as a kitchen?
So right now, if you have a hot plate or a microwave in addition to a sink and hookups for a refrigerator, which essentially we're looking at hookups for a microwave or a hot plate as well. We're just looking for a regular outlet. So if you have a sink and an outlet right now in its own room, we would consider that a kitchen. So the change would be, we're not looking at a sink and an outlet as becoming a kitchen. It has to be a sink, an outlet, and either an oven or a stove. So, so it has to have, like you said, the higher voltage hookups for the oven or the stove or gas connections,
And I'm not saying anybody would want to do
to
this.
clarify.
I think we need to specify what that actually is. To say a toaster oven is, I'm sorry, it's not an oven. I mean, because my dorm room, I had a sink, I had a toaster oven. It was before microwaves, really. We didn't have one of those. And we had a dorm refrigerator. So technically speaking, that could have been a kitchen, although there were 2 bunk beds in it.
So is there any other way to define oven or stove that would give further clarity to the fact that it is intended to be a larger cooking implement?
Yeah.
No, I
You just strike out, the microwave and the hot plate component. Oven and stove will work, clearly work.
I think the question is, do we need to define oven and stove do not include?
Aren't there building code, IBC considerations on what's considered an appliance versus a small appliance? I think they're in the building code.
Maybe, I don't know.
Mr. Kingston, did you have an observation?
Well, yeah, what you're seeing now in some of the smaller studios and micro units are these convection microwaves that are fairly large. You can cook a turkey in them. They double as a microwave and a convection oven, and they operate off of 120 power. So I'm not sure if that helps whatever you guys are talking about. But, the technology for cooking is changing faster than the code, probably. Yeah,
some quick research. If we didn't have any other questions on this one, I think the open question on this one is just, is there any more clarity needed to oven and stove to meet the intent of what we're trying to achieve here?
And Madam Chair, what did we decide on inserting the word primarily? Is that
I
something?
think what I heard from Ms. May was because there's not a requirement, in other words, you can have more than one, that the primary may not be needed.
It probably would just cause more confusion than.
Okay,
Right.
that helps. Thank you.
Yep, thank you for the suggestion.
I think if we can define what is a toaster oven and that does not count, then you're gonna have to have like a true, stove on the electrical panel. So I think, Enrique, that gets around to what you were asking. Because you'd have to have that. So if we say a microwave and a toaster oven and a hot plate does not classify, then you're gonna have to have the other one, which gets around to, and that's why I piggybacked on your question, if that makes any sense.
It does, and something I think that's common to all of those is that they can be countertop items as opposed to installed or in the wall. Sorry about that.
So, thank you both. Ms. Levy, bathrooms?
Thank you. So, yes, the proposed definition for bathroom means any room used for personal hygiene containing a shower or bathtub, a toilet, and sink. Again, this is a three-part now and not just a two-part. No, not really any zoning implications, except that, now we're being consistent with personal hygiene and including the bathing facilities, basically, by saying that it's containing a shower or bathtub, a toilet, and sink, whereby before it was a shower or basically you could have a shower, bathtub, a toilet, and sink. So you didn't have to have the bathing facilities before, and that was kind of a loophole. So this just makes it more compatible. The other times, though, that bathroom comes up in Chapter 51A is basically in the determination of a potentially incompatible industrial use when the industrial use manufactures bathroom products. And then the other one is a residential hotel use, 6 or more guest rooms with living and sleeping accommodations, each of which is individually secured and rented separately to one or more individuals who have access to bathroom, kitchen, or dining facilities outside the guest room on a common basis with other occupants of the structure. So, again, implications for building code, this is going to make it a three-part and tighten up that definition for them so that we don't have any issues where somebody's trying to claim that, just because maybe there's a sink and a toilet, that it's actually a dwelling because it has a bathroom, and yet there's no way to bathe, no bathing facilities in it. No real implications, of course, for the real estate industry, again, because this is strictly our application of our definitions and our codes.
Questions?
I have one, Madam Chair.
Mr.
Sorry
McCarthy?
for the background sound. Ms. Levy, there are some homes in Dallas that, as we like to do things big and fancy, I've seen master bedrooms that have a his and her bathroom. Is there a way to, does that mean that that house would have to have more parking, or would it, let's see, how do we deal with that? So they're not really bathrooms, they're serving the same master bedroom.
I'm sorry, I think I missed some of that. I think I know what you were asking, but I did miss some of that. I think you're asking if that's any problem if they have separate.
Right. Is there a parking consideration related to the bathroom definition?
Oh, yes, exactly.
Oh, for parking, okay. There is not.
Yeah, because
Okay.
parking is tied to bedrooms only, correct? Dwelling units and or bedrooms as defined in the code. Primarily
Yeah.
multifamilies we're talking about. Okay. Does that answer your question, Mr. McGregor?
Yes, it does. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Hall?
do the codes differentiate between the terms bathroom, restroom, toilet? So what we call a half bath, the toilet and sink is not a bathroom. It's, okay. But I mean, it could be called more appropriately a toilet. Yeah, but there's no differentiation.
Right. Yeah, I did a search in our American legal, in our code, and the only time bathroom showed up was, when used in conjunction, well, obviously dwelling unit. But also there was like an industrial manufacturing use if you manufacture bathroom products. So I don't think that's gonna be a problem with this change. And what was the other one, Lori? Do you remember?
Yeah,
It
it's
was
the
something-
residential hotel use.
Oh, yeah,
Just
the
mentioned.
yeah, having access to a bathroom. So it's just, you know, if someone has access to a bathroom, it could be a residential hotel.
But what we call a
These
half,
changes wouldn't adversely affect either.
so what we call a half bath is not technically, not by the terms of code, a
Right.
bathroom.
Right, it's just
Okay.
a real estate terminology,
Okay.
So
or IBC.
any further questions on bathrooms? I'm not seeing any, and I can't see everyone, so I'm gonna, unless I hear a voice, I'm gonna circle back to one question on kitchens. So I only found it very quickly in the residential code, which is regarding ranges and ovens. And range is a different, I think, definition than the proposed ovens and stoves. And since a oven is typically paired with a cooktop, would a cooktop, range, and oven be more consistent with how kitchens are typically configured currently? And I think that may answer Mr. Reeves' question about a cooktop would not, a hot plate would not be a cooktop. A cooktop, again, would be a larger appliance. And I'm wondering if that's consistent with what building inspection has seen coming through, or if that would provide some clarity to it.
I think so, if there's some support from the building code, we definitely love to work with our peers. And come up, and so if there's some similar terminologies that'll just make it more clear in implementation, that'd be great. I think we were just using ovens and stoves because that's what we already had, but I think cooktop and range and that would be a great change, update.
Ms. Levy, any thoughts or considerations on that, or any other members?
I was just gonna say that, on the hot plate versus our current cooktop that we have in our homes is, I believe, is gonna be the difference in the voltage too, because again, typically for those larger appliances, you need that 220 volts or your gas, where you're not gonna need that for the little portable hot plates.
Right.
And I think we use range and oven fairly interchangeably.
It goes to combustibility. That's why it's in the code. It's so that you have non-combustible materials around it. Cooktop has similar considerations, but I don't know if cooktop is a common terminology, would be my only.
And you said cooktop and range?
Well, so it's range and oven are what's in IRC. And then if you added cooktop, that would cover essentially the range of the typical configurations.
Maybe cooktop, range, and oven instead of stoves and ovens, or.
So stove is where it's just, because the oven is, there are already two differences. One is cooktop and the stove. and the other doesn't have the other components, so we already have that. Why are we gonna change the, add, other, another?
Well, is stove just a different word for range?
Say that again?
Is stove just a different word for range?
So,
Stove, a cooktop.
I think stove and range are used interchangeably because the stove typically has the oven and the cooktop unit. An oven is a separate wall unit. And then the question is, do we need to add a clarification that if you had an oven that you would then have, or do you need both? And that's, I think, maybe a question for this body. Do we feel like that clarity is helpful or being too specific?
Cooktop range,
Madam
it defines it all.
Right.
Any way you define it, it includes it.
Are there any thoughts from the other members?
A stove includes all.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I think that defines a microwave from a cooktop to whatever have you is there's a 120 plug. I mean, if I can buy it at Best Buy and it has a plug and I can plug it into a regular outlet, that is not a stove or an oven in my book. And if I were to put those actually in the plans as a stove or oven, then I'd say, nah, I can buy that at Best Buy and I can plug that in anywhere. So maybe that's it. So it would need to be a hardwired actually on the panel, and not ever intended for a 120.
Well, and I'll just, again, this is a 2018 International Residential Code. Freestanding or built-in ranges, and this again all goes to vertical clearances for combustibility. That's what it's primarily addressing in this particular section. So I don't know that, again, I don't want to make this overly complex, but freestanding or built-in would also, I don't know if that provides more clarity or not. Freestanding could be a microwave on a countertop.
Yeah, well, I have a permanently mounted microwave above my stove.
Right,
And
so that would be built in.
It plugs
Right.
in through the cabinet in an outlet up above the stove. So it's permanently mounted, but it's a 120.
Right,
I think that's a deal.
right. So Ms. Levy, I'm gonna rely on Ms. May to help us give some clarity on how, because that's really what we're trying to address here, is what you all are seeing coming through and the clarity to the definition as you all are interpreting this, so.
and I can get with our building code people and see if there's some more consistent phrasing and definitions to give the concept more clarity.
Okay, but do we think that oven, range, and cooktop is a better styling than the proposed oven or stove?
I think my only goal is to get rid of microwave ovens and hot plates. So, so I am comfortable with whatever phrasing we want to use, and I can bounce that off of other, peers at building inspection and see, if there's a better wording, that I would be happy to share that with Lori, and, if that's something that, I feel like that could be a pretty minor change to the concept. The concept is still intact.
Because one time we really had an issue with kitchen and these things in accessory structures.
Yeah.
It's never really in a dwelling unit for a multifamily or anything like that, because we can always determine the kitchen. But it's when they are trying to do an accessory structure. And we're gonna say either it's an additional dwelling unit or not. So that's the only time we really have issues with that.
So it appears the common reference is that a stovetop or a cooktop are open cooking surface only. A range or a stove is a standalone appliance with both an oven and a cooktop, if you will. And so I think as much as, there's no need to make a change to the definition or stove versus range, perhaps we simply keep stove because that's what current terminology is understood. We have oven, and then if we add, whether it's cooktop or stovetop, either one of those, I think would just then give clarity for, you need some combination of this to qualify in addition to a refrigerator and a sink to be considered a kitchen, and then addresses your concern about the smaller appliances being utilized.
So we're cooktop, range, or oven? Is that what we think would be?
Stove.
Stove.
Oh, cooktop stove or oven.
So that it keeps oven and stove as we currently have it and adds cooktop so that there's clarity. All right, any further discussion?
Well, just to be clear, so what language then are we using for kitchen or agreeing to for kitchen?
So for kitchen, and I'm gonna read the whole thing, but the kitchen means any room or area used for cooking or preparing food and containing one or more oven, stove, or cooktop. Adding the word cooktop, striking hot plates or microwave ovens. What's it called? It's not called. Semicolon. One or more refrigerators, semicolon, and one or more sinks. This definition does not include outdoor cooking facilities. So we are inserting cooktop and we are striking hot plates or microwave ovens per staff recommendation.
Okay, thank you.
Certainly. Any other questions on our definitions?
Is toaster ovens included in, is that?
It's not currently included in the definition, and so we would not add it, if that makes sense. We're not including what we're not allowing.
Okay.
So we could not add toaster ovens, microwaves, hot plates do not count.
Correct. By striking them, and I'm going to look to Ms. Levy and Ms. May, by striking them, the intent is that they do not count towards a kitchen. They do
Okay.
not.
So Ms. May wins the lottery and a year from now she's not here. Does Jefferson still go by that rule?
Absolutely.
It's gonna be
If
an
it's in the
ordinance.
code.
It's gonna be an ordinance, so.
Right, and so there's clarity and a common understanding of what oven, stove, and cooktop would be interpreted as, which is the larger appliances, whether freestanding or built-in, requiring the additional power and life safety requirements.
Right. I'll confirm it, just to
Okay.
cover our bases.
So we're hearing yes in terms of how building inspection is interpreting this, including after Ms. May wins the lottery.
We will all be gone.
So, is there a motion?
I move that.
Motion, Madam Chair.
Oh, Mr. McGregor.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. So on the matter of DCA 212005, consideration of amending the definitions of bedroom, kitchen, and bathroom in the Dallas Development Code, I move that we instruct staff to change the language to read as follows. Article 2, Interpretations and Definitions, Section 51A-2.1 definitions, subsection 8.1. Bathroom means any room used for personal hygiene containing a shower or bathtub, a toilet, and sink. Subsection 9. Bedroom means any room or area in a dwelling unit designed for sleeping other than kitchens, dining rooms, living rooms, bathrooms, closets, game rooms, sunrooms, and other similar rooms. Subsection 57.1. Kitchen means any room or area used for cooking or preparing food and containing one or more ovens or stoves and cooktop.
Or
Semicolon.
cooktop, correct? Or cooktop?
Or cooktop. Let me do it again. One or more ovens or stoves or cooktop. Yes?
Thank you.
Semicolon. One or more refrigerators, semicolon, and one or more sinks. This definition does not include outdoor cooking facilities.
Thank you, Mr. McGregor. Thank you, Commissioner Blair, for your second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you all.
That was done.
Thank you, Ms. May, Ms. Levy. We appreciate your time and helping us walk through all these considerations. I know we have another agenda item. I also know we have 5 minutes before City Plan Commission is going to start.
Right, so.
Were there any initial comments or questions on our building height from last week's. I think staff had noted some additional research was being done on items. Is that anything that we have an update from when the case report was published on Friday? See Mr. Doss.
He's out today. I was gonna
Okay.
bring the slides, but.
Okay. So if I can maybe suggest, since we are short on time, if our members can review the information that staff has sent, forward any questions electronically so that staff can address those and have this on our next agenda item. And then if we have any updates from the additional staff research. One item that I'd like to put forth for the members and for staff at our next meeting, if we can include how grade is considered in relation to building height. That's what, with this change, we're separating grade and moving to finished floor, which appears to leave a gap. I think we touched on this briefly at our last meeting, but if we could understand how to resolve those two together, I think it may be an important consideration.
And Madam Chair, if I may add, I didn't see an example of anybody that was using finished grade currently. Everything I saw, Fort Worth, everybody looked like they were using grade, not finished floor. So is there another example of another city using finished floor?
I think he found one from University Park, but,
I don't know that it was, I may have overlooked it. So, but if we could confirm that and have that, that would be helpful as well. And I think, again, similar to what we did here, if we can understand the implications in building code, because I think building code also varies. We touched on that briefly, that might be helpful. Any other initial thoughts? So I think as we're wrapping up, I know we still have our approval of minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes as submitted?
I'll move that we approve them.
Thank you, Mr. Hall, for your motion. And for your second, Commissioner Blair. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, minutes are adopted. And just wanted to give a quick update on schedule to everyone. I think as we're noticing, staff is going to have some new members coming on. Mr. Doss is going to be back with us in January, moving forward on some of our other items. But we anticipate having a very full agenda in the coming months and are anticipating a number of building code amendments coming through. I understand that short-term rentals are likely soon to be before us. Parking is going to be coming back. Mr. De Castillo is going to be putting together kind of an outline on how those are going to be coming forward. One thing that we would like to ask everyone to do to try to help us all be efficient is when we get our docket on Friday, if we can send any questions to staff in advance so that those can be incorporated into their briefing, I think it'll allow us to maybe get some of our initial questions answered and then focus on our discussion on moving our items forward. I think it would help us with our process and also help staff help us get through our items. We are anticipating that we likely will have 2 items per agenda coming forward. And as you can see, we've got a lot of questions as we're doing our due diligence on this. So appreciate everyone helping us as we're trying to help manage this process. And as always, thanks staff for all of their careful analysis. Mr. De Castillo, anything I missed?
No, you got everything. I just wanted, I wonder if it's appropriate, since we won't
Uh-oh.
And the treasury is in.
July. Wonder if now would be the right time to see if anybody, if the 9th or 23rd would work for everybody, so we can start to.
I have to say, those of us on Zoom lost the last couple minutes of what you said.
And so the question was on schedule. CPC has a bus tour scheduled for June the 16th. Therefore, we not going to ask anyone to be here at 7 a.m. So we will not be able to have a ZOAC meeting, our regularly scheduled ZOAC meeting. So we were going to do a specially called meeting. I think we did an electronic question and got some responses back on June the 9th. That's obviously a week from now. And so we could certainly get everything posted for our deadline if that works, or want to make sure that we have good representation from all of our members and also good public notice. And so if June the 23rd is preferred, if we can just do a straw poll, so that we can get that posted and out. So is there any conflict for anyone on either of those dates?
No conflict here.
Yes, I've got a conflict on the 9th, so the 23rd would be preferred.
Okay.
Me too.
Okay, and Ms. Bagley?
The 23rd is fine.
Okay, so we'll defer our 16th meeting. Mr. DeCastillo will send that out, and we'll plan to meet. Means we'll have 2 meetings back to back, because we'll have one on the 23rd and then one on July the 7th. Super. So with that, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion to adjourn at 10:01 a.m. Thank you, Mr. Hall, for your second. Thank you all for being here, for great discussion, and we'll see everyone on the 23rd.